But I was like, no one surely would watch this video and think, oh well. And then that is exactly what happened.
Welcome to the Higher Love with Megan podcast with me, your host, Megan Cooper, a trauma-informed therapist, life coach and disruptor of wellness norms based in Brighton, UK. This isn't another nice-to-have wellness podcast. Instead, this podcast seeks to redefine what it means to be well in today's world. Here, we challenge the status quo, seek to reunite wellness with social justice and improve accessibility, diversity and inclusivity within wellness and beyond. As a listener, you are not here to passively consume. Instead, you are an ambassador for real, embodied, societal and systemic change in the world. As your host, I stand for radical self-inquiry and being able to have those confronting but necessary conversations so that we can remember our collective humanity at this time. We're here for the revolution and you've got a front row seat. Dina, I'm so pleased to have you here. When I was reflecting on our call this morning, I was like, I feel like I'm going into like a kind of friend date with someone that I've actually wanted to have a conversation with for ages. I know that we've been in group calls, spaces together, and I've followed you for a while and I've always really loved your content. So yeah, I was really excited just to learn more about you and be in a space with you. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Megan. I'm so excited to be here.
I would love for you just to introduce yourself and your work for those people who haven't come across you in any way that feels alive for you today.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's always like an interesting question, right? Like, how do you introduce yourself? Yeah, so I was born and raised here in the UAE, and I'm of Palestinian heritage, so Palestinian in the diaspora. And I've also been in the wellness industry for maybe about 10 years now. I started as a yoga teacher, and my work organically started to move into working, I guess, mostly with women in birth work and prenatal yoga. I became a doula for a while. I started working in womb massage. I do some postnatal body work. I also do energy healing. So just really kind of, it's been this really nice organic flow of just hearing like little whispers of one thing to kind of move to. But I would say, movement has been a really big piece, the kind of the most consistent thread throughout. And then kind of the energy work and the body work coming after. I also have a corporate background that I also left in 2014, similar to you. Yeah, it's crazy. I was like, that's wild. And have just been on this, I guess, journey of trying to like be a great wellness person, wellness facilitator, wellness practitioner. I also do retreats. And I think this year in particular, it's like, how can I be a wellness practitioner that's not colluding in all of this terrible crap that's making this polycrisis possible? So I guess that's like the beginning to the end in 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's always hard to sum up, isn't it? I'm curious, as somebody that's been in the wellness space for 10 years, and I love that we entered it at the same time. Does your work look different today to what it did 10 years ago? Obviously, it looks different because we become different people, we train in different things, but I guess the essence of what your work stands for, would you say that that is similar, or would you say that that's evolved a lot too?
I think the first shift was probably when I started to work with energy and energy healing. I think that was the first time that I allowed myself to connect really to all the things that we usually talk about, like whether it's, the chakras or prana, or, it's like, okay, how can I actually connect to these concepts through yoga, teaching on a much more deeper, much more subtle, maybe even like esoteric level. And so I think that was probably the first shift that allowed me to drop a lot deeper into really myself and my body, to start to pay attention to the things that I didn't really like see, or things we can't really understand. But then there's this knowing or this intuition or something that you just feel on the inside. But I probably think the biggest shift happened after October 7th. I think this huge veil lifted for me in the way that I was working, in the way that I now can have this perspective to see how a lot of the wellness industry is operating. So I think that was probably the biggest shift of thinking, okay, wait a minute. I left, the corporate world because it was toxic and, people were burning out and they didn't, appreciate women or whatever, to move into a space that's supposed to make people well. And quickly realized in the last sort of year and a half that it's just like the same thing, but like dressed in like white clothing and white robes and feathers and hats. And so that was a really big wake up call for me. And I think I had a lot of like inklings. Like I never felt right, but I always thought it was me. Like I was like, oh, well, maybe your teaching isn't, that just speaks to like, I guess me, right? But it's like, oh, maybe your teaching isn't quite right for what people want, or, maybe like you need to get trained and this is the thing that people are really interested in. And that's the thing that you need to focus on now. But I think if I really look back, it's because I never really agreed anyway with, how we operated in the corporate world of, this idea of like always needing to progress and focusing on growth and continuously needing to like have more and more, like more clients and like more money. And then you can charge more for your sessions. And that if in some way, like you weren't, I don't know, climbing that ladder, then you weren't like a good enough teacher or a good enough facilitator. And in Dubai, it's quite small in the sense you could kind of carve out like a nice chunk for yourself, but then it's also it can feel a bit, quite commercial and quite competitive in that sense. So I think that shift in October was really, really massive. Like, oh, wait a minute. Actually, like, no wonder it hasn't felt good, because it's actually like the same beast, just wearing like really nice clothing. And yeah, like, are we really making people well, or are we just continuing this collusion and this amnesia and this bypassing? And I was like, oh, no. Oh God, no. And I was like, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. And I was like, I need to step out of this. Like, I can't be a part of this. If this is what's happening, and I need to like, is this what's happening? And so in May of last year, I decided to stop teaching. I took a little bit of a break from having one-on-one clients as well. It was supposed to just be for 3 months, but it's been like 9 or 10 months now. So I don't really know what to say. Yeah. So here we are.
Mm. I mean, I just want to acknowledge that taking a break, actually, because similarly, I did the same with my podcast. After October the 7th, I did my last podcast recording in the November, so a month later, and then I just couldn't record anymore because I was like, I've had enough of having wellness conversations that are so disconnected from what I'm seeing as happening on the ground in real life.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that next step looked like. And it was meant to be like, oh, I'll just think about it for like a few weeks. And then it became a few months, and then it became 6 months. And then I was just like, shit, do I even have a podcast anymore? But when I did come back to it, there was really this renewed sense of why and intention, and enough, I guess, space to know what I wanted to create next, but then be in the process of creating it. So I really hear you sometimes with that kind of like liminal space, I guess, of like having been a certain way or been involved with a certain way or worked in a certain way for a certain amount of time. And then there's something else that's coming, but we're in this liminal space of what comes next. So yeah, I really just wanted to acknowledge that space.
Before we go on, I'd so appreciate you to hit follow or subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, click those 3 little dots next to settings to rate the show. On Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review, or take a moment to explore how you can rate or review on the platform that you're listening or watching. This makes a difference. I truly believe we need to have more of these conversations to shake up the status quo. We'll beat the algorithm together with your clicks and shares. Now back to the episode.
So I was just curious, what have been, I suppose, the main things for you over the last 18 months that you have found so challenging within the wellness space?
Yeah, I think the obvious one being the silence and the apathy that seems to be alongside that. A lot of practitioners, saying that they want to keep their page separate from any kind of like personal or like political work, that this is a space for people to feel even the physical spaces. Oh, this is where people come to feel good, you know, like we don't want to introduce anything that's going to like not make people feel good. And I think they consider their online platforms the same in the sense that like, oh, people come to feel inspired and to feel motivated and to feel a sense of calm or peace or excited to work with this person. And well, you know, God forbid they mention the word genocide and well, then you know, we might just have to like lose people and lose followers and yeah, maybe lose sponsorships and lose business and lose deals. And I think at the beginning I think we were all kind of tiptoeing around it at the beginning, being like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't expect my peers and these maybe like celeb wellness people. Oh, and this person in these other communities, like, oh, are they really not saying anything? Or maybe they're saying something in person and oh, maybe they're just, you know, like giving all of these like a little bit of hope and, you know, let's like give people the benefit of the doubt. And then I think 6 months in, we were all like, yeah, okay, no, this is not okay. Like you guys are not saying anything. Now we know exactly where you stand. And so I think the silence for me was massive. And specifically because we were all asking for people to share. We were all asking for people to call things out and to bring awareness. And that's what I still can't digest. And when I think about entering back, I don't know what that means, but it's like this sense of like, okay, if I come back into this world to like really work with a sense of purpose, like I just feel like you've all let me down and you've all let the Palestinians down and you've let the world down because you couldn't hit the share. You didn't even have to create your own story. Like you didn't even have to get creative. Like all you had to do was like share a post onto your story. It's like one post. I'm just asking for one post. No, you couldn't do one post. Like band X. Like, and that was really, really hard because I think that like you, just found it really surprising because these are the people that talk about how to be like really good humans, you know, like the practices and the principles and the ethics and the ways of being that have been taught in these like sacred philosophical texts for thousands of years, you know, but then when it came to like the time and to putting it into practice, I was just really, really shocked. I was really shocked. And I think more so because I live in an Arab country, we are on Arab land. And if you choose to be here and to profit from all the beautiful people that transit their way through here, and you get to call this place home, you best be cooperating with like how your community is feeling, you know, like it's obviously very international. There's a lot of expats, but I think there's enough, like you connect with Arabs no matter what, like whether they're in a cafe or in a restaurant or they're your coworker or they're whatever, somebody that you bumped into or you're standing in line with. And all of us have been affected because we all know what this is about. We've all had to experience it in one way or another, every single country, at least in the Levant, like mostly. So I think it was just really, really frustrating. It was really, really heartbreaking. It was really, it's the grief is like really still there and it's taking a long time for me to work through, especially since I think because I'm still here and it's like I can't go anywhere and it is so small. And so to sort of say, well, okay, I'm just going to go and carve something out completely on my own that's like separate. Like, yes, I'm trying to do that on the portal, but I still have to remember that like this is the place I live and this is the place that I will eventually maybe, you know, show up again in person. Because I've been here for so long, I've had such an established community, I've had such an established line of work. So it feels really strange for me to be in like the shadows, I guess. But also, yeah, that sense of like, let me take a break and let me come back. Really when it feels, I don't know, when it feels safe is the word that like comes to me, because it just doesn't feel like a supportive, safe environment. So I think, yeah, the silence was just really like such a big one. And the you know, let's pray for peace on both sides and let's not, you know, like just don't put one over the other. And, you know, someone that I know was like, oh, I'm not going to like get involved. It's a game. Like it's all a game. And I was like, yeah, okay, maybe it's all a game. And people are dying. Children are dying. People are dying. Like, and so I think that's what like really frustrates me is that it's like a indoctrination in its own way that has like removed people so far into this like theoretical space of like, oh, it's all an illusion and it's just a big game and we're in Kali Yuga. And it's like, well, yeah, okay. And please come down to this 3D reality that you were born into karmically. Okay. So let's go, let's put our shoes on. And I think you get exhausted. Like after a while, it's exhausting, right? Like you're just trying to like, hey, you, over there. And then you're just like, okay, you know what? You guys can just, you want to destroy the world? Please feel free. I'm going to sit back here and just do my thing. Yeah.
I hear you. I mean, yeah, you're preaching to the choir over here. I mean, I always just kind of look at posts and I'm like, do people realize that we can't manifest our way to creating like more peace on the planet? Like there is actually tangible action that has to be put through your physical human body and your words into action. But there was just something that I really wanted to ask you. It must feel, I mean, I suppose I find it frustrating enough, the silence, the apathy, the collusion, the disconnection, the existing in different worlds and different spaces, you know, wellness and kind of like actually what's happening in physical reality. But I imagine that in a way must feel even more magnified for you as somebody, as you said at the beginning of the podcast, of like Palestinian descent. You must feel that even more, I guess, through some kind of like lived experience, would you say?
Yeah, I think that because this isn't the first genocide, this isn't the first war, this isn't the first attack, this isn't the first, you know, set of transgressions. It's something that's been happening for so long that, yeah, I would say like pre-October 7th, it was getting to a point where I was like, I know people don't care because the entire system is repressing the narrative, is changing the narrative. There's so much propaganda that just goes against us. And there's only so much that I can really expect because it's genuinely not like in their mind, in their forefront, unless I went and told every single person that I knew. But I think when it's live streamed on this device that we carry around 24/7 and all of the videos and the footage are there and everybody's sharing it and you're so close geographically, that for me was really, really hard to grasp. And yes, because I'm Palestinian, this time I was like, hey, these things that I've been trying to tell you and these things that we've been trying to tell you, look, they're here. Like we can show you now. And of course, it was like, I genuinely thought that people would see 2 or 3 videos those first 2 weeks in October. And like everything would be like out in the open, you know, things would have come to light, change was going to happen. I was so naive. But I was like, no one surely would watch this video and think, oh, well. And then that is exactly what happened. And that's when it got like really, really crazy because I was like, oh, well, humans can't see what's happening there because it's very closed and repressed and they're keeping it in a small little corner and they're not putting it on the news and they're not putting it in the media. But now it's on your phone and you're still not reacting. Ooh, now I have to grapple with humanity and our human psyche and I have to now understand how we got to this place where you watch these videos for 2 weeks and these leaders watch these videos for 2 weeks and the world watched these videos for 2 weeks. And here we are like a year and a half later. Sorry. That is just completely mind boggling. 100%.
Totally. And kind of, you know, what I hear you saying there is it's not actually through lack of access to information that, you know, we can't argue like, oh, I just didn't know that this was happening in this corner of the world. It's like it's actually being live streamed on the internet. For you not to have seen any of this, you would have had to have worked quite hard to not see this. And you know, like I appreciate how the algorithm works. It's pretty much all I get shown on the internet now. And I appreciate that if you only follow like journaling prompts, then maybe that's all you get as well. However, I do feel like you would have had to have worked quite hard to have not been exposed to it at all. And then we go into the more kind of concerning realm of why hasn't this moved you into action? Why it's not inspired change within you? why haven't you been able to cope with, and, you know, and I say this also, you know, some people are going through like extremely challenging personal experiences that sometimes limits your capacity for things on a collective level. And I appreciate that within other people's degrees of lived experience. However, for the generalization of humanity, let's say, especially with people in privileged positions of safety and security and comfort, why hasn't it moved you? Or why haven't you been able to, like, I think something that came up for me during the 18 months, you know, sometimes there are times where you do just have to take like a bit of a step out for yourself to like rest, recalibrate, and all of the things. But why haven't we been able to sustain the support and the solidarity? And that for me was a big thing of like, as a white person of privilege, I haven't had to be angry about anything for a long time before. I haven't had to sustain support for a long time before. I haven't had to be uncomfortable because as a white, middle-class, cisgender person of privilege, I'm not marginalized in any way. So I haven't had to fight back or push back or be uncomfortable ever really that much, and certainly not for a sustained amount of time. But it's concerning when we're like not willing to step in and do that work of unlearning.
100%. It makes you question why are we so, you know, is it because you're tired? Well, why are we so tired all the time? And it's like, oh, is it because you know, can't feel for a person that doesn't look like you? Well, let's think about that. Is it because it's far away from you? And if it's far, then it's someone else's problem. Well, okay, where does that come from? And having these questions are, you know, really, really important. And I completely understand if somebody's moving through like the loss of like a family member or like a real like illness, you know, I can completely understand that they're not going to be able to step up and give their full self to this. But as you said, there are a lot of people in a position of privilege, I mean, especially here as well, that, you know, if you're paying, I mean, I'm trying to convert it to pounds. I think our classes were like 25 pounds or something for a yoga class, right? Like if you're paying 25 pounds for a yoga class, like you're probably doing pretty well. And I guess that's another segue, right? Is how the whole yoga space or the wellness space starts to just cater for a very specific group of people to be well who are already pretty well. It's like, okay, so you're coming to feel better than you already felt. Okay, great. Like maybe I should be focusing my efforts somewhere else. So yeah.
Totally. And you know, what I hear there is, for me and what I've experienced over the last couple of years, 18 months, it's like you start pulling on any one of those strings of like, why can't I sustain this support? Why do I not care about something that's far away? Why don't I care about something that's happening to a different group of people? Any of these little strings, you just pull a little bit on that thread and then it interconnects so much with every other thread. And before you know it, you're like pulling the rope around like capitalism, white supremacy, like the military industrial complex, the interconnectedness of all systems. And then it's like, whoa, okay, how did I not know? Or how did I not care? Or how was I not part of all of this change? And I mean, God, that is not enough to radicalize somebody. I can't get my head around it personally. You know, I continue to try and be in this space of inviting people in to the conversation. So we continue on with that space. But something that I also wanted to bring in that I heard in your share. Yesterday, I was running a half-day retreat for the fundraising committee who I was working with for an International Women's Day event, which was raising money for women and children in Gaza. And the fundraising committee have got like diverse backgrounds, come from different places. There was 3 Palestinians there, British, English people there, Iraqi, lots of different like cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds, all sorts of things. But there was really this conversation that we had around, you know, me as a white person of privilege. If a yoga studio or a wellness practitioner isn't talking about these things, I personally don't feel safe in that space, because I'm like, if you're not being called up to the plate on this, you're not going to understand how I'm feeling or where I'm coming from, or we don't have the same values. And I brought that into the space, and they were speaking to this of like, if that's how you feel, imagine like how we feel around this. If people are not vocal, if people are not advocating, if people are not race, cultural informed, how can people feel safe in our spaces? And I like the reason why I bring it in is like having to explain to other wellness practitioners why this work is important, or like why it's important that our values are blatant on our website or our Instagram or wherever people see you. People quite literally do not feel safe in your company, like don't feel seen in your work. And like, if I don't know any other reason as to why people need to step into this conversation.
Yeah. You said that so beautifully, Megan. And I completely agree with you, but I don't think that they have made that connection yet, I guess, into thinking that they are excluding people. And I think that's how it is, right? Like we didn't realize we were excluding people until we realized we were excluding people. And I think I can definitely say, I can put my hand up and say that.
I did for decades.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, it's so true. I think that's a feeling and a sentiment that so many people have also expressed, and yeah, with rightfully so that we wouldn't feel safe going into spaces where people haven't said a single thing about a genocide that's happening, around the corner or across the ocean. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, especially when it's coming from somebody who, it's like, I can almost understand that if like, okay, you're just a person and you're working in a job in, like, you are an accountant, and okay, great. But like, it just obviously just makes you a good human being to talk about it, but fine. But no, like, you have intentionally chosen to occupy a space that talks about love, that talks about peace, that talks about interconnectedness, that talks about nonviolence, that talks about inclusion, that talks about safety, that talks about trauma. I mean, that's just 7 things that you are supposedly steeping yourself in, and you are completely being selective in how you are using them. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to use them when it helps me get more clients and it helps make sense in this specific situation. Oh, but no, these things don't apply to that. That's politics. This is wellness. And it's like, no, this is the same thing. Like, I don't think, the Bhagavad Gita was like, this is a book about something separate to the world. No, it was like, this is a book about the world. Like, how have we, moved so far away from these really core principles of what everyone in this space is trying to preach?
Yeah, totally. And, kind of what comes up for me there is I feel like wellness, or the wellness space, the kind of like new age spirituality space. And I say this also knowing that I've full on been a colluded part of this space. So there's like the moral superiority stamp cannot exist for me on this one. But this space, I feel, has kind of gone into the arena of like escapism, or like disassociation almost from like things that are happening like in very like real life situations on the ground. And for me, it's about time that like wellness came back into politics and social justice. I mean, God, like I've done 850 hours of yoga training, like yoga teacher training.
Wow.
There was not one mention of social justice within any of that. Like I only learned within the last couple of years that social justice was always part of yoga. And like even in ahimsa, non-violence, it's like, well, I've only thought about that in terms of like, veganism or like non-violence, be nice to everyone. But actually, of course, there is so much depth to that. Like, so social justice has always been part of it. And I really feel like it's that like playtime's over type thing of like the wellness space has to come back to politics and understanding socioeconomic like connectedness, why people aren't in your spaces, and as we say within our group sessions.
I think this makes me think about why people have such a big aversion to discomfort, like why we have come to a place as a humanity that we really like avert away from suffering. Because when you were talking about ahimsa, it's all nice to say, okay, be nice to people and nonviolence, but that we've had to put that in because of the side of suffering and the side of violence and the side of people not being free and not being well. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. It's like, well, and we wishing their wellness. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. That means I need to connect to the idea that there are people suffering, that there are people that are unwell, not just in the world, but even close to me. And I feel like there's such an aversion to that, to like really feeling into that. And it's like, oh, as long as I'm okay, then that's fine. Like I can just kind of focus on this. But yeah, that kind of like icky feeling of having to come to terms with the fact that, things are not great for a lot of people, and definitely for certain groups of people. But yeah, that is something that's really interesting as well. What do you think about that?
There was something that just came up to me in what you were saying of, I think that there's a lot of people in the world, due to the systems that we have, capitalism, work harder, be better, there is how much that erodes our humanity on a very unconscious level for a lot of people. The vast majority of people, I would say, it's like, perhaps there is a lot of subconscious or unconscious discomfort that until you've worked through that and like made the unconscious conscious and done the work on that, I feel for myself that having worked through quite a lot of those unconscious layers of discomfort, I can now choose to step back into discomfort instead of like, I suppose what I'm saying here is, instead of feeling this like unconscious discomfort, needing to escape into some kind of like wellness portal, a way to get out of our discomfort, when we've consciously worked through a lot of that discomfort, we can step back in and have more capacity for other people's discomfort and collective discomfort. Like I feel now that whole like, oh, I don't want to look at that. That's low vibrational. Or like, I don't want to look at that because it's just too much on my system or on my nervous system or, any of that stuff. I feel because I've like worked through that, I can consciously stay in discomfort much better. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. It's because you've had like safe spaces to like meet those parts of yourself and to work on them and to take breaks and then to come back to them and give them space and give them love and give them compassion and then step out and then to meet it again and look at it and you're like, oh my God, my shit is so gross. It smells like so bad. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to take a break. And so, yeah, I guess. And I think my understanding is that we were all doing that. Enough that when October 7th happened, at least our people and our community and this beautiful wellness web of like practitioners that are here to like help people and change the world would be the ones doing that because we are doing the work, right? And I think that's when I realized that like, oh, right. Like some of this is, I guess everybody's on a different journey, but some of it is performative and some of it isn't. And some of it is deep. And some of people just want to teach, fitness yoga. And like, they're really not interested in the other stuff. And there's this whole spectrum. So yeah, it is a little interesting one. And then on the flip side of that is this trend where people are forcing themselves into really uncomfortable things as part of this like forced catharsis. You're like, wait, I'm so confused. Like you don't want to like meet the suffering of the world, but you will do this like insane like breathwork class with like loud music and like strobe lights like hitting your third eye so that you can like vomit into a bucket. And then like you're like, wait a minute, like, why? Like, why are you doing that? Why are we also pushing ourselves? Like, it's like people are coming into the wellness space to like feel, they're like, I need to feel something. And you're like, just open your eyes and look on your Instagram. You will feel everything. Go and speak to your neighbor. Go and speak to the person that works at the post. I don't know, whatever. Like you will feel everything. Like, why do you need to like force feel everything? It's so interesting. Like, it's just this crazy pendulum swing that I'm sitting back and going like, what do I make of this?
And I think there's so much to what you're saying there. I mean, there's this whole like kind of, I guess, capitalist quick fix thing that comes like, oh, I know how I'll feel. I'll go to a breath work and like vomit in a bucket thing. I mean, that sounds horrendous and I've never heard of that. So,
Oh no, Nate,
ew.
like I put like 6 things together, but because that's
Okay.
basically like
The fact that I believe that is a new spiritual modality is concerning.
you want to join me, Megan? We'd make a lot of money. I'm just saying we could do this
Yes,
together.
let's package that one up. Oh my God, the idea. There was something that you wrote on one of your posts, which I really wanted to bring in, which was, it's our duty to feel sick to our stomach. It's our duty not to go numb. It's our duty to bear witness until justice reigns. Really powerful. And a question that comes up for me is, what do you regard as the role or responsibility for us as practitioners going forward?
Yeah, I think even just when you read that back, that word duty like really comes back to me again and again and again. This idea that we do carry a responsibility because we are working with people. We're trying to help people and we're trying to make them well and we're trying to uplift them, that there is like a real sense of responsibility and duty here. We're not disconnected. We literally have to interact and we have to engage, and we are leaving our little fingerprints and our little footprints in everything we're doing. And so I think moving forward, if people take that as part of their like contract of why they're doing this work and how they might use that responsibility, right? Like that, the power that comes with that, like the power that you have to create change and to create, healthier systems, or even like, more equality, whatever it might be. But really that sense of responsibility, that sense of duty, take a step back and really think about how that makes a difference, not just to them feeling good after that like 60-minute session of whatever you're doing, but how that then transfers into something bigger. Like, how is it going to help them be a better member of their family, a better member of their community, a better citizen of the world? And it's like, can you allow yourself to work knowing that you're going to be piercing like those 3 levels instead of just like, I help their nervous system, full stop. It's like, no, okay, great. But why? Like, why are you expanding their capacity? Like, why are you helping them regulate? Why are you helping them come into their bodies? We can no longer move forward from such an individualistic perspective. Like, it's just not going to work. If anything, it's proven that it's done the opposite. It's been absolutely catastrophic for humanity.
Yeah, totally. And what I hear there, what I would say I've experienced myself, is a radical redefinition of what wellness is. Because I used to think that wellness was, I make my nervous system more regulated, full stop. Or, me as a wellness practitioner, I help people to feel well physically, mentally, and emotionally, full stop. But what I hear there and what I've experienced, and I spoke to this in a solo episode a few weeks ago, was like, for me, what I've experienced over the last 18 months is this real redefinition of what wellness is, and seeing it in this much bigger capacity of collective liberation. Because I personally think, and Leah Kim, the host of Voices on the Side podcast, brought this to my attention, this word of soul loss. That what does it take for people of privilege to so significantly suppress their own humanity that they would look at a live stream genocide, or they would look at marginalization and be okay with it? Like, what's that taken from us on our own humanity on an unconscious level to be able to uphold systems of oppression? And that concept, and it's continuing to obviously like marinate over the last year. Like, what does it take from us to be well, like to be well in a sick society? And for me, it's in a kind of like ironic way, looking at this stuff and being so horrified and sick to our stomachs is like, I think the first level of healing of like, oh wow, this shit is actually like not okay with me. And then we go into this like, okay, if I'm healing my relationship to all of my biases and all of my challenges around systemic trauma, that for me is my definition of wellness now. Like, how can I actually become a functional human that advocates for all of humanity and is in pursuit of collective liberation. I now feel like if your wellness doesn't stand for collective liberation, it's not wellness at all.
Yes, I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was beautiful. Yeah.
You talk about decolonizing your work, and this has been something that's new to me over the last 18 months, of realizing how colonized my work was, how colonized the space of coaching, therapy, yoga, any form of wellness is. When you talk about decolonizing your work, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I guess I firstly want to give credit to the beautiful woman that I've been learning from, Dr. Rosia Rosales Mesa, which I think a lot of people have been connected to through this whole year and this whole process. And yeah, I think that I don't think I even realized that was necessary until obviously all this happened. So I'm very grateful that this whole process has been illuminated so that I can now actively participate in it. And I really want to give her credit for giving me, I guess, really like the tools, but also the language. I think what's beautiful about her process that I really connect to personally is how to really come back to this idea that at the foundation of what we're doing should be a connection to the sacred. And I think that's also one of the reasons for this soul loss, is that like if we've been cut from earth or from source or from God or whatever, like, we're starting to not really believe in anything anymore. We're starting to not really think there's anything out. Like, no, it's like if we can return back to this sense of a connection to the sacred, whatever that might mean, it's really different for everybody. A real sense of like faith and connection into something greater that can provide such a solid foundation to then do our work from, because we are not able then to disconnect from everything that's included in that, which is the earth, which is all of its people, which is the animals, etc., which is all kinds of people marginalized, financially, challenged in any way or physically challenged in any way. It's like, how can we be as accessible, because we have to be with everybody on this earth. And then I think the other piece that I really love is, for me, when I think of decolonizing, she talks a lot about how so much of what we do and so much about how we operate and so much of how we do this work is autopilot, because we've been so conditioned by society and by the powers that be or whatever to work this way and to operate this way, to think that exactly like to be well in a sick society, that we have to push hard, that we have to go beyond our limitations, that we're going to not listen to the signals that our bodies are giving, that we're going to override the natural rhythms of our own physical bodies and our own physiology, and we're going to completely alter how we eat and how we sleep just so that we can fall into this line and like make it somewhere. And so I think for me, a big piece is this unlearning, which is the word that you used earlier in our time together. It's like, how can we start to realize that we have been programmed? And she uses this beautiful sentence that every time she says it, it brings up so much emotion for me. But she always says, like, we've been programmed without our consent. It's like these slow subliminal messages over days and years and years and decades, this slow like unworthiness of everything, that you have to do these things to be worthy, to be successful, to take up space, whatever it might be. And so it's like we've been programmed without our consent to operate in this way, to have a sense of constant urgency. It's like, how many things can I multitask? To be in a state of perfectionism, to not make time to rest and to replenish our own energy, to not make time to connect to ritual or to our faith or to the sacred or to the earth or to be with the elements, or even to just be with our family. I mean, I can really put my hand up and say that, I really prioritize my work. And when I was in the corporate world, it was that. And when I moved into being an independent, like boss bae, it was that, like, so much so that I did put that ahead of so many things, over friendships, over family, even over my partnership at times. And it's like, whoa, like, how can I like unfucking plug, sorry, from that like matrix. So, so that I can like be a human that's cooperating like with life again and with the rhythm of life that, doesn't bear fruit all year round, that sometimes has to completely rest and hibernate, and sometimes is going to be super creative, and sometimes it's going to be super productive, and sometimes just isn't. And this idea that we are going to be constantly productive, constantly efficient, constantly in this like upward, like linear thing is just batshit bonkers crazy. And so I think for me, those have been the really like big elements. Is like, let's just start by realizing where we are and starting the unlearning, and then we can go into so many other things of the decolonization process, of capitalism, of colonialism, of cultural appropriation. I mean, you can, like you said, you pull on a little thread and it's like, what do I do with all this? So like, we could just start somewhere, and we can all do our best, and I think that's the thing for me. It's like, I think people feel a lot of pressure, and they're like, well, I'm just one person. I'm like, of course, like we're all just one people. And I know that my capacity will be different to your capacity, but we can all like just try our best, like maybe you read one blog a week, or like maybe you decide to order a book, or maybe you just like ask a friend, like some questions, and you start there. I have a really good friend that, with the things that I don't understand, that I'm still like very new to, I'm like, these are all going to sound like such ignorant questions. Like, can you help me unpack this? And she's like, yes, let's go. And I'm so grateful for that. And I just hope that more people have, the courage and the vulnerability to do that. And we've been talking about that a lot in our calls with Carrie, is like, how do we create like real connection and real intimacy by just bringing ourselves forwards and having the hard conversations and being there for each other, even if we don't really know each other. Right. Yeah.
I love so much of what you've just spoken to there, but something that really stands out for me is like, as individuals, being able to take stock of where we are and have the humility to recognize where we might have been, inverted commas, going wrong, causing harm, consciously or unconsciously, and then having the courage to be able to decide to do something different, and then recognizing that it's okay to not have the answers. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to get things wrong, whilst also at the same, and kind of, there's a lot of self-compassion that comes with that, a lot of forgiveness. There's a lot of processes, I think, involved with that. But then also like stepping into this place of, this might have been the level of conditioning that I've experienced every single second of every single day of every single year that I've been alive on a societal and systemic level. It's not my fault that I perhaps act in these ways that I do, think the ways that I do, but it is my responsibility to now do something about it. And I feel like when we can hold those two at the same time, of like a continual level of like self-forgiveness for the way that we've been, but a continual like arising of responsibility, that's a very powerful combination.
I love that, because I think that's where people get stuck, is the guilt and the shame. And we can allow ourselves to feel that. We can allow ourselves to really hold the gravity of all of the ways that like, oh God, like I didn't know this before, and I feel so ashamed, and I feel so guilty that I haven't done enough. And, let me hold that with so much grace and so much compassion and move forward. Let me not get stuck in it. Let me not get stuck in this. Yeah. Which I think is also another capitalistic colonial idea, like this idea of fame, and like, even like in religion, it's like so present, and you're like, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the thing that they were trying to get across when they wrote these texts, but okay.
Totally. Like, what just comes up for me there of like, it's a very colonial mindset to be like, I don't know the answer to this thing, so I have to find an answer immediately. I have to create the answer immediately. Whereas like, what I'm hearing from you is like, hey, there are loads of like Indigenous teachers that have been talking about this stuff for so long, or there's loads of, practitioners or authors or activists of people of color who can also support or like have resources around this stuff. There are people who've walked this path for decades, just need to find their resources and then step into a place of unlearning and learning. I think like it's so ingrained into us, isn't it, that like we have to reinvent the wheel, and we have to, and I actually, let me just caveat that with, I feel like there are lots of wheels in our current society which need to be recreated. However, as individuals, just going back stepping outside of that, like individualized, I have to find the answers to
Yeah.
all of these things. When we open up our eyes, as you said, and we can start to see a sense of like community and a sense of connection, and like you asking your friend of like, hey, I know that these might be like questions that are obvious, but like I don't know them, so can you support me with this? Or, you know, being in group settings where we can share ideas and share resources and learn from one another, learn from authors who've been writing about this stuff for decades. You know, I feel like that for me is also a form of unlearning in itself, to actually like look to community and connection to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
What is your vision for us as wellness practitioners being part of collective liberation?
I think the thing that's coming to me a lot when I think about that question is, as to how you also just put it, is the sense of like, we really have to do it together. I really feel like this vision has to be something that we are all each carrying one piece of. Like the piece that I'm bringing, the piece that you're bringing, the piece that they're bringing. It's like we all bring our own perspective and our own experience and our own understanding. And I really think that for me, if I think of this higher vision, I see us really coming together and almost like creating like a higher, like body of people that like create a new standard of doing things, not from a place of superiority, but from a place of like, we've really, connected to what's happening in this reality. And we are really in tune with what's truly needed in order for humanity to move forward. And here are all the beautiful things that I can bring, and here are all the beautiful things that you can bring. And I know that I can't do it without you, and you can't do it without me. It's just not going to work. Like this thing of like, I'm going to have my own little corner where it's my own people and my own clients, and you can't come in here because they're mine. Like, no, like we're going to have to like really overlap and collaborate. And I think also like get things wrong and be okay with that. I think that's another thing that people struggle with, is that, they don't want to get things wrong. They don't want to say something wrong, understandably, because there's a lot of cancel culture energy going around. But it's like, okay, can we allow ourselves to just experiment with this? And I think we were on the call together when someone was kind of talking about the formation of like birds. And I have also been thinking about that a lot, in the sense of, it's like, I can see all of us in these different parts of the world. Like, look at us, even just connecting now, like flying in different parts of like the airspace. And then at some point we're going to come into this like beautiful V formation, because we all have this vision. We all have this intelligence within us that's calling us to something. I don't know what that is yet. I feel like it's not quite like fully formed. Like it hasn't quite come. It's not quite clear. But yeah, when you ask that question, that's really what comes to me. And it's something that I'm thinking about. And it's also pulling me out of, trying to figure this out on my own, which, like you said, we're not supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I love also that you just dropped the Portal Collective into that as well. I mean, I know for myself, and I'm sure that you would agree, that it's been an amazing space for me to be a part of, a very collaborative space. Anyone that is interested in understanding what the Portal is, you can find it at Join the Portal. I also recorded an episode a few episodes back with Sally Burns, the creator of the Portal. But really finding these spaces, these learning platforms, collaborative platforms where we can share resources, share spaces. I feel like positive things are happening within this space. I trust that it seems like more people are joining the revolution, which is only a positive thing. I think there is still a hugely immense space to go. I mean, when you were saying I'm not quite sure what it looks like yet, the future, just going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, this like liminal space. I feel like in a way, the whole like world feels like we're in this kind of like liminal space of recognizing where we've been, recognizing kind of where we want to go, but we're not really sure what the like what's ifs and hows are like in place yet. So it feels like we're in the space, but I trust that more people are arriving into this space.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Rage continues.
Until then.
I'll keep being in my Britney 2007 era for sure. Dina, this has been amazing. I've loved this conversation with you. I mean, the fact that we've been able to record a conversation that I would have just loved to have had with you anyway, even if it's just been a massive bonus. I would love for you just to share anything that would be helpful in terms either of like resources that have really helped you, or just ways that people can also find you, things that you have going on, and just anything else that you would love to share or bring into the conversation.
Yeah, I think what's really helped me, as you said, is being part of the portal. So everybody should definitely go check that out. I think working with Carrie Jarvis has been instrumental in this period. For Decolonizing, highly recommend checking out Dr. Ricio Rosales. And obviously there's a lot of really interesting people on the internet as well. Suzanne Bartataki, who talks about decolonizing yoga. And then, if you want to get in touch with me, I'm Wellness with Dina on Instagram. I also have a website. I host retreats around the world. I'm doing my first one that's specifically for facilitators in April to just kind of, re-anchor us back into like why we're doing this. I hope it's the first of many. It's a new space for me to work with other facilitators. So it's an edge, a little growth edge for me. But I'm really, really excited. And I'm so grateful to be here and to be invited to share this important conversation with you. And thanks again for having me.
Well, thank you so much, Dina. I hope your retreat goes amazingly. I feel gutted to actually be missing that now that you've been mentioning it. I'm away in April, but I would love to join the next one. It sounds amazing. So thank you so much for this conversation. It's been just so awesome to connect with you on a personal note. And I've really loved this conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. It's great to have you with me on this journey towards higher love for all. Our time is our greatest commodity and gift, so thanks for investing it in yourself and sharing it with me. Please do take a moment to rate and review the show, all of which enables more people to find me and for me to connect with more great guests each week for both yours and my enjoyment. All links, references and contact information is detailed too within the show notes. And I always love to hear your feedback, so feel free to hit me up on my Instagram at higherlove_with_Megan or via my website higher-love.com. Send your takeaways, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share or send on to someone else who would benefit. Until next time, big love.